Hello, 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 and welcome to the live. I am LadyRo, and welcome to LadyRo's Kingdom. Oh, you guys, come on in, have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. I have a doozy planned for us today. Oh, wow. But let me get into something real fast. I just want to play something for your hearing. Let me put my overlay up. Uh, Chat is bad enough. I'm gonna be playing. I don't gonna get no big trouble. Maybe a little trouble, but not no big trouble. Here we go. Let's go.
The church of God in Christ. This is the church of God in Christ. We are anointed, by God appointed to be the church of God in Christ.
Well, child. We about to talk about the church of God in Christ. Child, yesterday, I was sitting at home minding my business. In fact, let me give a few more minutes while some people come in. Let me see if I can find something on TikTok that may be a little bit entertaining, because I want to get some people in here so y'all could have a good old laugh with me. I don't want to just be down here by myself, but I want you guys to come laugh with me. Let me see what I can find real fast that may be funny, child, because it's some funny stuff out here on the TikTok. Some real funny stuff. Let me see. Everything I see is about sourdough. I've started making sourdough bread, so I be on TikTok finding recipes. So that's biggest thing. I'm gonna kill about 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll get on into the episode. Let's see what these people talking about.
Hey, hold on. This is Winston.
Winston, hey Winston.
Tell him to sit.
Sit, Winston. Sit, Winston. Wow.
Child, these people and their animals, their pigs. We'll talk about something else over here. Anyway, how's your day been going? I have had a swell day. I went to work today, took care of a couple of things. I've been off for a couple of days, so it's kind of glad to go back to work. Hey, Symmetry, kind of glad to get back in the mix and get on into the job. But yeah, that's how my day has gone. But I will tell you this, that I've just played This Is the Church of God in Christ, sung by Bishop G.E. Patterson. But the song actually goes a little bit faster. It says, this is the church of God in Christ. This is the church of God in Christ. You can join in. You have to be born in. This is the church of God in Christ. And we're going to talk about the grand old church of God in Christ. But before we do that, let me get some pleasantries out of the way. Remember, all views expressed in this live, they all alleged. Girl, I don't know if none of this is true. I don't even know if I'm true. All I know is all of this is alleged. It's all in my opinion. And all of this is for entertainment purposes. Now, I do have some court documents we're going to read today. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if none of this is true. All I know is what I found out here in the publications when I went looking. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you don't mind. Fair use disclaimer. Some material in this video is used under U.S. Copyright Fair Use Section 107 for purposes such as commentary, criticism, news reporting, and education. Today, we're going to be doing some criticism, a whole lot of chit-chatting, and talking about what's going on. So yesterday afternoon, I was scrolling through my email on my phone and I ran across this email. Now, I've subscribed to the Church of God in Christ, their newsletter, to their events, whatever they have going on. I noticed earlier this month, they released information about the national convention that comes up in November. So when I saw the email, I thought, well, that's probably what they're still talking about. So I really didn't pay it much attention, glanced over it, saw that it was an announcement, but really didn't get into it. In fact, let me pull that up while we're talking. And while I was looking at it, again, hold on a minute. I didn't think much of it, went on about my business, doing what I was doing. Well, last night, things get a little bored. I wasn't quite sleepy when I laid in bed. So I decided to go back through and read. It's like, okay, what is this about? So I got an email about an official statement from the Church of God in Christ. Now let's get over here. I'm going to read to you what was in my email. But it took me, of course, to their website. It says official statement regarding filed complaint. Church of God in Christ for immediate release to Church of God in Christ, Inc. Statement of the Church of God in Christ, Inc. The Church of God in Christ, Inc., COGIC, was recently notified that Eli Lilly and Company has filed a complaint against several individuals affiliated with our church in connection with an alleged drug rebate fraud scheme. The Church of God in Christ has no knowledge of the acts alleged in the complaint. The church has not knowingly participated in, authorized, or condoned any of the alleged fraudulent activity described in the lawsuit. COGIC takes these accusations seriously, and it is presently investigating the matter given our existing relationship with Eli Lilly. The church is fully cooperating with Eli Lilly, as well as any appropriate authorities in connection with this case. Out of fairness to all parties involved, and because the matter is currently under review, we have no further comments at this time. Sincerely, the Church of God in Christ, 930 Madison Street, Memphis, Tennessee. Ciao. So after I read that, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Drug scheme? What is really going on down there at the Church of God in Christ? So instead of me going on to sleep, my little brain started moving, and I decided I would get out here and look around and see what was on the internet. So while out looking around to see what was on the internet, I found this. And we're gonna get on into it. We're gonna look at some things, and we got a whole lawsuit that we're gonna look at. COGIC, better known as Kojic Charities, received $500,000 grant. I found this on Selena's Journal, and it was in several different other news articles. So shout out to Selena Journal. This is a good thing. This is not a bad thing, but we're going to read it because this talks about the partnership and the connection that Kojic has with Eli Lilly, better known to me as Big Pharma, right? Anyway, moving forward. Lilly Endowment Hope After the Storm Initiative invests in faith-based disaster relief capacity. Memphis, Tennessee, United States, April the 2nd. I want you to pay attention, 2026. So this was just last month that this happened. Kojic Charities, the benevolent arm of the Church of God in Christ, has received a $500,000 grant from Lilly Endowment, Inc. through its initiative Hope After the Storm, capacity building for faith-based disaster relief organizations. With this investment, Kojic Charities will establish regional disaster relief warehouses to serve as essential supply distribution centers across the country. These regional locations will create reliable pipelines for crucial supplies, delivering food, water, in some cases clothing, and critical medicine in response to national disasters and to those who have been displaced from their homes. In addition to infrastructure development, the grant will fund education and training programs to equip members of the organization, meaning Kojic, with emergency prepared expertise. Kojic Charities' objective is to be proactive, providing pastoral leaders across its jurisdiction jurisdictions with comprehensive disaster manuals and relief kits designed to help them navigate community challenges before, during, and after a disaster. This grant from Lilly Endowment is a divine confirmation of what Kojic Charities has been called to do, to serve as a beacon of hope when communities need it most. Our mission has always been to meet people at their point of need, and now we have the resources to build lasting infrastructure that will allow us to respond with greater speed, compassion, and reach. Of course, $500,000, it should reach a little bit further than your hand could reach. We are grateful to Lilly Endowment for recognizing the vital role faith-based organizations play in disaster relief for entrusting Kojic Charities to carry this work forward. Presiding Bishop J. Drew Sheard, Chairman, COGIC Charities Board of Directors. So I want you to understand one thing. I'm not going to read all of this, but Lilly Endowment is, if you see down here at the bottom, Lilly Endowment Inc. is an Indianapolis-based private foundation created in 1937 by J.K. Lilly Sr. and his sons, Eli and J.K. Jr., through gifts of stock in their pharmaceutical business, Eli Lilly and Company. So there is a partnership that the Church of God in Christ has with Eli Lilly that they don't want to jeopardize, that they don't want to get messed up. They don't want to screw it over. Hey, that's me, AD. Thanks for joining. They don't want to mess it up. So here we come out yesterday. Actually, this lawsuit was filed on the 19th of May, I'm sorry. So the 19th would have been, I want to say Tuesday. Am I correct? The 19th was Tuesday, correct. So we're going to get on over here and get into the lawsuit. I'm not sure if anybody will be joining later, but if they do, they just get in where they fit in. Let me add to the screen this. I hope you guys can see it. It's a little bit, see if I can make it bigger. It may be as big as I can get it. Move it a little further. Can you guys see me? I hope you can. Or hear me. I'm sorry, not see me, but hear me. But I wish I could get that bigger. Let's maximize it. It's saying that's as big as it gets. Hope you guys can see it. But we're going to get into it. United States District Court, Southern District of Florida, Eli Lilly and Company, Big Pharma, plaintiff versus Drug Place Inc., Florida, Drug Place Inc., Tennessee, Community Health Initiative Inc., Nacorn Wholesalers, LLC, Galaxy Media, LLC, doing business as Galaxy Pharmacy, Brightline Wholesale, LLC, Paul Light, Kevin Singer, Rita Smith, Jerry Maynard Sr., Jerry Maynard Jr., Misha Maynard, Edgar Enriquez, Lane Menzel, and Danielle Giscobi. Now, we have a whole family, the daddy, the son, and the sister, or the daughter of the daddy. Child, they've been named in this lawsuit. Remember, this complaint is a civil lawsuit. This is not a criminal. So this is not asking for anybody to go to jail. This is asking for relief because these people feel like they have been fraud, Eli Lilly feels like that they have been duped for $200 million. And we're going to read it. This is all about Trulicity. If you know anything about Trulicity, Trulicity is a GLP-1. GLP-1s are used primarily for type 2 diabetes. And that level would include like Mounjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic. Those are all GLP-1s. And if you know back a few months ago, maybe 2 years ago, this was all the rave. Everybody wanted Ozempic. Give me Ozempic. They was getting Ozempic off the market, compound shots, and they couldn't even keep it on the shelf. I, too, was a person who decided I wanted to take a GLP-1, start having some side effects. I was like, to hell with this. I don't want no more of this. So I stopped. But This is all about Trulicity, right? So we're going to get into the findings, what has happened, and what they did with all of the Trulicity and child, because this is a mess. Do you hear me? This is a mess. I wish I could make this much, much bigger. Can I make this bigger? Yeah, it's not going to get any bigger. Can y'all tell me if y'all can see that? But I have it on another screen, on my second screen, on my second monitor, so I definitely can read it to you guys. Plaintiff Eli, this is the introduction. This is the complete complaint from the court. This complaint is 66 pages. We may not read all 66 pages, but we're going to get the gist of the court of the complaint, okay? Introduction. Plaintiff Eli Lilly and Company, Lilly, is one of the nation's leading pharmaceutical companies, better known to me as Big Pharma. So when I say Big Pharma, that's what I mean. Better known as Big Pharma. If I pull it real close and squinch, I can't stand you, girl. I can't stand you living for me. I don't know how to make it bigger. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Does this make it bigger? I don't know if this makes it bigger. Or does that just like move everything out of the way? I tried. I pushed maximize and it said this is as big as this gonna get. That's what it just told me, girl. We ain't getting no bigger for you. This is it. Uh-oh. Now I took it completely out the screen. We're gonna stop messing with stuff over. I done mess up. Okay. You said I can only listen anyway. Okay. Okay. So let's get into it. Number 2, defendants are a group of interrelated entities and individuals that operate under the guise of a massive prescription cost share program for members of the Church of God in Christ, Church, or Kojic, a Pentecostal church denominations. Defendants include entities that hold themselves out as the church affiliated payer, the pharmacy benefit manager, PMB, and the exclusive pharmacy for individuals participating in this program. Despite playing these distinct roles, these entities share overlapping ownership, control, and addresses. I'm going to say that again. Despite playing these distinct roles, these entities share overlapping ownership, control, and addresses. Their owners and principals, also named as defendants, have previously been implicated in a lengthy string of healthcare fraud schemes. Can y'all hear that now? They are accusing the defendants that I named, this is several of them, of being the pharmacy benefits manager, and they hold themselves out as the church affiliated payer. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever been a part of a pharmacy program where, let's say, your insurance, you have a drug or a medication that may cost, I'm just going to throw a number out here, okay? $5,000. Your insurance will only cover, in fact, your insurance may not cover any of it. They have these rebate programs that will help you with those medications, right? So, because the GLP-1s are in such high demand and they were so expensive at first and insurances were not covering them, these different big pharmas came up with these rebate costs. So what they would do is they would absorb some of the costs, and then the person buying the medication would absorb the rest. So let's say if the medication costs $5,000, they may pay $4,050, and you may pay a copay of $50. See what I'm saying? Which over time, if you keep doing that, it will amass to a great amount of money. Number 3, in their present scheme, defendants purchase enormous quantities of Trulicity, hereafter known as Trulicity. So they're not going to go ahead and go through a whole bunch of other things. They're just going to use it as Trulicity. A Lilly prescription medication through a pharmacy run by defendants called Drug Place Inc., located in Florida. Drug Place Inc., located in Tennessee, hereafter known as Drug Place FL, Drug Place TN. After purchasing the medications, defendants seek rebates from Lilly for proportionate utilization of the medication, filtering the rebate claims through series of intermediaries. Okay, so they filtered those claims through several systems to get the rebate. In doing so, defendants represent that the medication has been dispensed to the patient, a necessary condition to qualify for the rebates. So Trulicity, as many of you know, it was designed to cover that I think type 2 diabetes, but it also, I believe, is one that can be used for weight loss. I believe because there's only certain, like Ozempic is not FDA approved for weight loss, but Wegovy is. See what I'm saying? So you gotta kind of, there's certain ones like Mounjaro is for weight loss. Wegovy is specifically for weight loss. So once they're geared that way, then that's how they actually, you have to have the necessary condition, your weight have to be a certain amount, there's a whole qualifying process. Okay. And I know that because when I did my GLP-1, I actually had to go see a nutritionist, which was a pharmacist. That pharmacist had to override it and send all this stuff to my insurance company. My insurance company called me and they said, we're going to approve it. And I think my copay was like $20 a month. Not a whole lot. So this is what they did. Let me go back to where I was at. I was on page 2, I believe. Yes. So it says that, where am I? Okay, I was on the wrong page. Sorry. In doing so, each year defendants purport to fill and process tens of thousands of Trulicity prescriptions for church members and cause Lilly to pay rebates for that massive purported utilization. So apparently they ordered thousands of Trulicity, right? And they were sending in rebates for each one of those that they ordered. So for each medication, you have to fill out the rebate information, and then you have to give them the necessary conditions to qualify, like what the diagnosis is, who the physician is, so on and so forth. But defendants do not dispense to patients anything near the volume of Trulicity that they claim. The vast majority of the prescriptions, dispenses, utilization, and patients identified in these rebate submissions are fictional. Instead, defendants resell this medication to pharmaceutical wholesalers on the secondary market. Big no-no. Defendants then falsely represent to Lilly throughout intermediaries that they resold Trulicity, that the resold Trulicity has been dispensed to the patients in order to fraudulently cause Lilly to pay rebates. Let's go to the next page. So yeah, because I'm on page 3. Sorry. Defendants' cost share program is a sham. SHAM, a sham. Defendants who claim to provide prescription drug coverage for a church with more than 1 million members actually operate out of a nondescript 2-room office. The data they provide to support the rebate claims show highly anomalous prescription and utilization trends, anti-ethical, to a legitimate patient population, and the prescription level data are unsupported by basic verifying information. Sound like somebody got greedy. sound like they had a good thing going on, and they kept pushing it, and some wasn't right, and somebody caught on down there to the Mr. Eli Lilly, big pharma, and the Eli Lilly, and they was like, hey, sound the alarm, something ain't right down there with them people. We need to check this out. And we know it don't cost but one thing to sound the alarm, and they gonna go through the whole file. Lilly's investigation also revealed that the program documents that supposedly govern the prescription cost sharing program are incomplete and inconsistent with industry standards. So you're not even doing the paperwork right. You done went down there, got all this medication, but once they start looking, once you cause them to look, they realize your stuff was incomplete and it was inconsistent. Moreover, the economics behind the purported cost share program do not add up. Apart from a copay on each prescription filled, program members supposedly pay no premiums or other periodic contributions that would cover the total cost of their medication needs. So Eli Lilly was paying, their rebate program was paying for Trulicity at 100%. The patients wasn't paying, they were not paying any premiums or anything else. They were covering it completely. Rather, coverage is allegedly funded by unspecified charitable donations and federal grants, but the church reported charitable receipts are just a tiny fraction of the cost of the Trulicity that defendants purchase each year. And although federal grants are a matter of public record, there are no records indicating that the federal government has ever provided a grant to Drug Place or to Defendant Community Health Initiative, Inc., that are known as Community Health, which allegedly administers the church prescription cost share program. Let's go to this next page over here. At the bottom, the prescription cost share program, the defendant's entire business are fronts for their fraudulent rebate scheme. Though this scheme, defendants have defrauded Lilly out of more than $200 million. Defendants are similarly defrauding other pharmaceutical manufacturers as well. One thing you don't play with, I'm going to tell you this, Big Pharma. Big Pharma are some of the biggest lobbyists in government. They stay in Washington, D.C., lobbying to make you pay for those medications that they keep funneling you through the physicians. Trust me, you don't play with Big Pharma. I believe they don't play with the wrong people. Moving right along. Prior to the current iteration of defendant scheme, Lilly had a direct contractual relationship with Drug Place. So before this scheme, they had a direct contract with Drug Place. Lilly ultimately ended that business relationship after identifying significant concerns with Drug Place's prescription level and rebate data. But that did not deter defendants from seeking other ways of stealing from Lilly. Far from it, baby. Instead, they began providing fabricated dispense and utilization data to support rebate claims submitted to Lilly through a multi-step chain of intermediaries, which obscure their identities and help the rebate claims evade detection. All the while, the volume of the defendant's fraudulent claims skyrocketed. So they're saying that these people were getting all of this medicine, all of this Trulicity, and they were reselling it to a wholesaler. And the wholesaler is actually listed in this lawsuit. Remember, this is just a civil lawsuit, but reading and judging by what I'm reading, a criminal one will probably be following right behind this. They just want to get their money back first and let the law do whatever they're going to do later. Defendants were able to conceal their rebate fraud scheme for years by submitting claims through intermediaries, which obscure the source of the claims, and by repeatedly pivoting to different intermediaries. only by identifying and examining the abnormalities, the anomalies in defendants' rebate data, initiating an extensive investigation, obtaining slapdash, punitive program documentation from defendants, conducting surveillance of defendants' resale activities, and obtaining records of defendants' resale of medication on the secondary market, as Lilly was able to piece together the nature and scope of the defendant's fraud. Baby, gotcha. They got you. They've been watching y'all. And it's sad. Big Pharma want their money. You heard me, Symmetry, they won't ever die. And believe it or not, they probably will get it back. Maybe not all of it, but they're going to get some of their money back. They definitely going to get some of it back. Most recently, Lilly has caught defendants forming a web of new legal entities to replace the scheme across the country. So they ain't gave up yet. They're gonna try something different. These include a Texas-based pharmacy, Galaxy Med LLC, doing business as Galaxy Pharmacy. Now I will tell you this: they are in the civil lawsuit as well as named as a defendant, which serves the exact same role for a different purported religiously affiliated prescription cost share program. As with Drug Place, fraudulent rebate claims are submitted to Lilly based on Galaxy data, representing that Galaxy has dispensed Trulicity to program members. In fact, those prescriptions are fictional, and the medication instead has been resold on the secondary market. Without this court's intervention, defendants' fraud will continue to grow at Lilly's expense, leaving lasting damage to Lilly's reputation and its business counterparties involved in the rebate program, and draining resources from Lilly's development of critical medication. Lilly seeks injunctive relief to put a stop to this expanding fraudulent scheme and to obtain damages for the harm defendant scheme has inflicted. Parties: plaintiff. Lilly is a public corporation organized under the laws of the state of Indiana, with its principal place of business at Lilly Corporate Center, Indianapolis, Indiana. Lilly discovers, develops, manufactures, and markets innovative medicines. Throughout its 150-year history, Lilly has worked to address some of the most pressing challenges facing humanity, including infectious diseases, diabetes, depression, cancer, obesity, and Alzheimer's disease. Last year, more than 55 million people use Lilly's medication. Chad, when I tell you, y'all gonna learn, but first they're gonna have to teach you. Leave Big Pharma alone. Leave Big Pharma alone. The best thing to do with Big Pharma is just not use Big Pharma. Now, we all know that Eli Lilly makes a lot of money, but they want to protect their money. They done pulled in some big, heavy-duty lawyers. They got John Shapiro out of New York, and he's coming for you, defendants. He's coming for every one of you. Symmetry said this may end in the hands of the feds. I believe it will, Symmetry. If everything they're saying, and I really believe that they have this information, I believe that they have done their investigative work. They've had probably people behind the scenes, following them, doing all the things, because the one thing they want to do is always recoup their money. Definitely want to recoup their money. Defendants are an interconnected group of individuals and entities with common ownership and shared addresses, including pharmacies, pharmaceutical wholesalers, and prescription drug programs that work together to devise and perpetrate healthcare fraud schemes. Let's go to the next page. What page are you guys on? There we go. Drug Place. Drug Place, Inc., Florida, is a business corporation organized under the laws of the state of Florida with the address, and it gives the address in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It is therefore a citizen of Florida. Drug Place, Inc., Tennessee, is a separate organization under the laws of the state of Tennessee. It is located, and gives the address, in Nashville, Tennessee, and maintains a mailing address of 3900 Southwest 30th Street, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It has the exact same address as Drug Place, Florida, right? It is therefore a citizen of Tennessee and Florida. Drug Place, Florida, Drug Place, Tennessee operate as one company with the Fort Lauderdale, Florida location serving as its corporate headquarters and the Nashville, Tennessee location serving as its current distribution center. The company operated by the two corporations is referred to as Drug Place. Drug Place purports to be a mail order pharmacy and PBM for a prescription cost share program operated by Defendant Community Health until April of 2026. Drug Place maintained a national provider identifier as a community retail pharmacy. So a national provider identifier is a number that all pharmacies are given, right? So those numbers track you down to the medications that are sent to your pharmacy and how they are dispersed. So if you ever go to the pharmacy and you get a medication, especially a NARD, those NARDs have to be tracked. They are tracked on a universal system, in case y'all did not know. When you go and you get some hydrocodone and you pick it up at CVS, but you go to the emergency room, you say, oh my God, my back's hurting. And that physician orders you another dose of hydrocodone and you go to Walmart to get it filled. Walmart is going to say, hey, we see in the national database that you just filled some hydrocodone on Tuesday. It's Friday. We can't fill this because they cannot fill NARDs, but every 28 days. That is the law. That is a national law. It's nothing state, and I'm just telling you that because I just be knowing stuff like that. Anyway, hey, Queen Script. So in April 2026, after learning that Lilly was investigating its fraudulent rebate activity, Drug Place closed its pharmacy in Nashville and began to liquidate its assets and equipment. So they knew they was coming for them. They had a feeling big pharma's after us. We better close this down and act like we don't know nothing. We ain't seen nothing. See no evil, hear no evil is what they was doing. B, community health. Community health is a business corporation organized under the laws of the state of Tennessee with its principal place of business at 617 Air Park Center Drive in Nashville, Tennessee. The same address as Drug Place, Tennessee. Chad, when I say they was just intermingling these places, everything was going out of the same place, Chad. Community health is therefore a citizen of Tennessee. This is pretty much legal jargon. This is just something they have to have. Community health purports to be an affiliate of the church, which describes itself as a Pentecostal denomination with millions of adherents and sometimes does business under the name Kojic Department of Health. Community health purports to be responsible for recruiting patients and administering the church's prescription cost shared program. So community health was actually, I guess, the liaison, and they went between the pharmacy. They got the patients who wanted the particular medications. They did the cost share program by doing the rebates and filling out the information, and then the pharmacy filled. This is what community health's part was in here. Community health was originally formed as Ready Healthcare Service Corporation and was originally located at 4300 Clarksville Pike, Nashville, Tennessee. Community health maintains no independent website or internet presence. Besides a reference on Drug Place website and historical references on the Kojic Department of Health website, community health under its former name, Ready Healthcare Services Corporation, is the owner of the registered trademark for Drug Place. Oh, this is what I say, intertwined. All of this stuff is intertwined among each other. So community health, its former name is Ready Healthcare Services Corporation. Even though community health is not registered, Ready Health Service Corporation is the registered owner of the trademark for Drug Place, Florida and Tennessee. Child, wait a minute here. Additionally, drug places formularies are printed on Kojic Department of Health letterhead and purported to be approved by the Kojic Department of Health. Ooh, baby, let me tell you something. Now, I don't know how much of this is true. Everything's alleged and everything's in my opinion. But Kojic, you better watch out. Get your lawyers on standby and be ready. Because this last little bit, with it being on your letterhead and being approved by your Department of Health, you better watch out. Something may be coming in the works later on. And I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. Nacorn, defendants Nacorn Wholesalers LLC, better known as Nacorn, is a limited liability company organized under the laws of the state of Tennessee. Its sole member is defendant Kevin Singer, a Florida resident. So between Florida and Tennessee, baby, they've been intertwined in all of this mess. Therefore, Nacorn is a citizen of Florida. Nacorn's principal place of business is 1400 De La Salle Pike Suite A116, Nashville, Tennessee, which was also Drug Place's address until March of 2017. When Nacorn was formed. Nacorn's corporate registration lists Drug Place Florida's address, 3900 Southwest 30th Avenue, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is Nacorn's own mailing address, and that address serves as Nacorn's corporate headquarters. So we talk about the intermingling. All of these places all return back to the Fort Lauderdale address. Everything I'm seeing goes right back to the Fort Lauderdale address. Nacorn purports to be a wholesaler of pharmaceutical products and maintains wholesaler licenses in Arizona, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee, though none of those licenses are currently valid. And to be able to administer, not so much administer, but to be able to dispense medication, you have to have a valid pharmaceutical license. There's just law. You said they did not hide this well at all. And you know what? It may have, Queen Script, it may have started out all legal. And then all of a sudden the money got good. They realized they could do things and make a little bit extra, and they continued. You know what I'm saying? They don't make it right. I'm just saying that may be the whole premise behind this thing. Like Drug Place, Nacorn submitted a request to close its facility with the Tennessee Department of Health and to surrender its wholesaler's license with the Kentucky Board of Pharmacy in January of 2026. Evidently, after defendants were made aware of Lilly's fraud investigation. Let me change the pages because we just switched places. Pages. Defendant Edgar Enriquez is the general manager of Nacorn and listed as the contact on Nacorn's Tennessee Department of Health facility license. Child, they've been doing the most. How did they think they could get away with this without licensure? Well, they had licensure. Some of them did. Now, those licenses that Nacorn looked like that they held in, let's see, I went forward instead of backwards. They held licenses in Arizona, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee, although none of them were currently valid. In January, they turned over their Tennessee license. I don't know about the other ones, but they surrendered their license in January. So you're right. How did they expect to get away with this without a license? And how long have they been operating without a license? This is getting weird, super weird. Because we know that you have to have a license. I wouldn't want to purchase any product from a pharmacist that didn't have a license. I need to see the license on the wall. I need to see the license of your pharmacist to make sure that I'm getting the correct medication, the correct dose, the route, all those things. I need to see all of that. The loss of license would trigger something in the system. I would think so. If you have, and as big as Eli Lilly is, you would think they would have a team of people that will be watching this medication that actually know, hey, their license isn't good. Because I would tell you, there at my job, there's a team that watches our license that maybe they're like, hey, LadyRo, your license is going to expire if you don't get out there and renew it next month. I'm telling you, we have a whole team that's all they do. So I would think as big as Eli Lilly is, if they were doing things like that they would already have those licenses in place, and they would have somebody that was watching those files and some type of data that, hey, their license is expiring. You need to call them and get a current license. Give them a date. If your license, we don't have a current license on file, we'll have to pull your stuff and we won't be able to administer you any medication. But apparently that ain't what happened. Let me get a sip of water. Galaxy, Defendant Galaxy, baby. It's a lot of defendants. Defendant Galaxy is a limited liability company organized under the laws of the state of Texas, with its principal place of business at 6655 Travis Street, Suite 102, Houston, Texas. Its sole member is defendant Lane Mazie, a Florida resident. Babe, when I say everything goes back to Florida, everything. Therefore, Galaxy is a citizen of Florida. Galaxy's corporate registration is also lists drug place former Florida address, 1930 Harrison Street, Suite 605, Hollywood, Florida, as Galaxy's own address, and that address serves as Galaxy's corporate headquarters. Galaxy purports to be a mail order pharmacy for a prescription cost share program operated by the Texas chapter of National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference. They don't put everybody in it. Until around March of 2026, Galaxy maintained a NPI code, which is their number. The pharmacy has to have a number registered with the state so that they can dispense medication. Code as a community pharmacy. Defendant Lane Mayes is listed as the manager, director, office of records, and registered agent for Galaxy. Next, Defendant Brightline. Defendant Brightline Wholesale LLC is a limited liability company organized under the state laws of the state of Texas, with its principal place of business at 1224 North Post or Oak Road, Suite 130, Houston, Texas. Its sole member is Defendant Lane Mazie. Baby, Lane Mazie owns Galaxy and Brightline. Oh, baby, he probably is the. Let me keep that to myself. A Florida resident. Therefore, Brightline is a citizen of Florida. Brightline's corporate registration also lists drug place's address, 1930 Harrison Street, Suite 605, Hollywood, Florida, as Brightline's own address, and that address serves as Brightline's corporate headquarters. What a mess. What a mess. Brightline purports to be a wholesaler of pharmaceutical products and has previously maintained wholesaler's license in Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, and Kentucky, though none of those licenses are currently valid. Defendant Lane Mayes filed that corporate registration for Brightline. Defendant Danielle Giscombe describes herself as Brightline's pharmaceutical wholesale manager, and also is listed as a contact on Galaxy's Texas pharmacy license. So Brightline and Galaxy are actually intermingled. And then we also saw defendant Danielle Giscombe. She was listed on the defendants. She's a part of Brightline, but her name is also listed as a contact on Galaxy. Child, a miss. Defendant Drug Place Community Health, NACOM, Galaxy, Brightline are collectively referred to as drug place entities. Individual defendants. Defendant Paul Joshua Light is a Florida citizen residing in Adventure, Florida. Light is a co-owner and president of Drug Place, and investor in Galaxy. He has been affiliated with numerous corporations and non-defendant entities associated with. And he gives an address and another address and another address. Defendant Kevin Michael Singer is a Florida resident residing in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Singer is Light's business partner. Singer is a co-owner and the vice president, secretary, and director of Drug Place. He is also owner of Nacorn, for which he submitted applications for wholesaler licenses with various state licensing authority and an investor in Galaxy. He has been affiliated with numerous corporations, including non-defendant entities associated with, and he gives that address in Nashville where Nacorn was actually supposed to be located, and that address in Hollywood, Florida as well. Additionally, defendant Singer and Light jointly own a limited liability company that owns that address in Fort Lauderdale that everybody is linked back to. Drug Place, Florida's current address, Drug Place, Tennessee, and Nacorn's mailing address is where that Fort Lauderdale address. Light and Singer also co-owned dozens of other business enterprises, including at least 7 that were formed since February of 2025. All alleged below, like Light. Sorry. Singer has repeatedly been implicated in healthcare fraud and diversion schemes. Now, if you don't know what diversion schemes are, diversion is when someone takes medication that is intended for, well, I'll just make it as simple as I can. Let's say that there's some medicine that is just for symmetry, right? And I take it. That's called drug diversion, right? So this person, Singer and Light, they have been repeatedly implicated in healthcare fraud. This isn't new to them. They've been doing this. And so they may have been the whole thing behind this operation. I don't know. But it says they have been implicated. They have been repeatedly implicated in healthcare fraud and diversion schemes. And we know what diversion schemes are. It's when someone's taking medicine that is intended to go this direction and they send another direction. Light and Singer personally supervised, participated in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent scheme described below. Defendant Rita C. Smith III is a Florida resident residing in Jacksonville, Florida. Smith is the Secretary General of Health and Business for the church. He is also the CEO and registered agent for Defendant Community Health and has been affiliated with Light and Singer's non-defendant companies, including several associated with the 617 Airport Center Drive address in Nashville, Tennessee, where Drug Place, Tennessee, and Community Health are located. Hey, Butterfly. Hi, Butterfly. How you doing, baby girl? They knew how long it would take them before the system flagged the loss of licenses. But that's crazy, Queen Script, because there should be in every single pharmaceutical distribution company, such as Eli Lilly, there should always be a licensing and regulation center, right? Those are the people who monitor your license, make sure on a regular basis that you're not getting flagged, that there isn't some bojo going on, and that they're keeping up with what's going on with your license. And I'm surprised that Eli Lilly wasn't aware of this, and that they really only caught on to it because of the amount of medications that was coming up missing. That is surprising to me. It says Smith is also the president for National Partnerships USA at Wellvana, a value-based healthcare provider that recruits physicians. Smith leads Wellvana Interfaith Network, which launched a partnership with the church in 2024 to recruit physicians to provide healthcare services to church members and other religious communities, particularly in connection with chronic diseases such as diabetes. Smith personally supervised, participated in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent scheme described below. Okay, Butterfly, please come back. Please come back. Where was I at? Okay. Defendant Jerry Maynard Sr. Jerry Maynard Sr., y'all, is a bishop in the Church of God in Christ. This man is like 84 years old. He's an old guy. He is not a young man. And this is the biggest tie back to the church, to the grand church, because he sits on the board of bishops. He is a part of the deciding body of the church. So for him to be implicated in this scheme, it is wild. Yes, please hit that like button if you don't mind. Please, please, please hit that like button as we go over these court documents. Remember, this is a civil case, but this civil case is probably going to be the catalyst that brings about a criminal case. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Defendant Jerry Maynard Sr. is a Tennessee citizen residing in. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, darling. I appreciate that. Jerry Maynard Sr. is a Tennessee resident citizen. Ooh, all right, catch my breath. In Ashland City, Tennessee. He is a church bishop and a businessman in the Nashville area. He also promoted community health to members of the church. As alleged below, Maynard has previously been implicated in a healthcare fraud scheme involving pharmacies owned by Light and Singer. In his role at the church, Mr. Maynard supervised, participated in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent scheme described below. Defendant Jerry Maynard Jr. is a Tennessee citizen residing in Nashville, Tennessee. He is a church pastor, businessman, politician, and attorney in the Nashville area. And defendant Jerry Maynard Jr. And defendant Jerry Maynard Sr.'s son. He registered the trademarks for drug play. So the junior is all the way in it. And he's a licensed attorney. Girl, yes, I got some water right here. He is a licensed attorney. Junior is. So daddy's 84. I'm not sure how old son is. He probably is in his 60s, but he is a licensed attorney in Tennessee. And he actually registered the trademark for drug place. Remember, everything goes back to drug place because drug place was actually the filter that was supposed to be getting these medications out. Ready Healthcare Services, the legal process predecessor to Community Health, and Kojic Department of Health. He also serves as chairman of the board for Community Health. In his role at Community Health and as an agent for Drug Place, Mr. Maynard supervised, participated in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent schemes described below. Defendant Misha Maynard, who is the daughter of the senior, is a Tennessee citizen residing in Watertown, Tennessee. She is the vice president of operations for Community Health, a church pastor, and defendant Jerry Maynard Sr.'s daughter, and defendant Jerry Maynard Jr.'s sister. In her role at Community Health and the church, Ms. Maynard supervised, participated in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent scheme below, allegedly. All this is alleged. I'm just reading this out of a court document. I don't know if none of this is true. Baby, they still get to stand before a jury of their peers, and they get to decide if they guilty or innocent. We just read the document. We don't know none of this true. Let's put that disclaimer out there. I don't know if none of this is true. All this is alleged. Allegedly. Defendant Edgar Enriquez is a Tennessee citizen residing in Brentwood, Tennessee. He's a general manager of NACARN, and in that capacity signed inspection reports conducted by the Tennessee State Board of Health, Board of Pharmacy. He's also listed as a contact for Community Health and other entities that share Drug Place's mailing address, and is affiliated with Light, Singer, and Smith. In these roles, Enriquez supervised, participated in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent scheme described below. Defendant Lane, better known as Poe, Jeremy Mays, is a Florida citizen residing in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mays is the manager and registered agent of Galaxy, as well as manager and organizer and registered agent of Brightline. Mays has numerous connections to defendant Light and Singer, including shared Florida addresses for Galaxy, Brightline, and other ventures. Additionally, Light and Singer lent money to Galaxy in 2021 through their company, Funding Source International, LLC. In those roles, may have supervised, participated in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent scheme described below. Ciao. Defendant Danielle Giscombe is a Texas citizen residing in Humble, Texas. She is the pharmaceutical wholesale manager at Brightline and a registered pharmacy technician at Galaxy. In these roles, Giscombe supervised, participate in, conspired to participate in, and benefited from the fraudulent schemes described below. Defendant Light, Singer, Smith, Jerry Maynard Sr., Jerry Maynard Jr., Misha Maynard, Enriquez, Mays, and Giscombe are referred to herein collectively as drug place officers, and together with drug place entities as the drug place conspiracy. So they talk about the jurisdiction and venue. This court has subject matter jurisdiction over this action pursuant to 28 USC. And it gives case law. Lilly is a citizen of the state of Indiana, no other state. Defendants are citizens of Florida, Tennessee, Texas. No defendant is a citizen of Indiana. The amount of damages exceeds $75,000, exclusive of interest and costs. The court has personal jurisdiction over all of the defendants. As alleged below, the owners and principal of the drug place, and it gives everybody's name again. Since this venue is proper. Trulicity talks about Trulicity's rebates. Let me see what else, because I don't want to waste time. Trulicity, Lilly's Trulicity medication. People with type 2 diabetes have difficulty using or making enough insulin, which regulates blood sugar. This can put them at a risk for severe health complications, including heart damage, chronic kidney disease, nerve damage, and eye damage. For over a decade, millions of people with type 2 diabetes have made Lilly's injectable prescription medication, Trulicity, a vital part of their treatment journey. Do I have that on here? I do. Trulicity mimics the effects of the natural hormone GLP-1 to stimulate insulin secretion, among other effects. When used in conjunction with diet and exercise, Trulicity is indicated to improve glycemic control in adult patients and pediatric patients 10 years of age and older with type 2 diabetes. I will tell you this. When I took Wegovy, it worked. I cannot say it did not work. What I will say is you lose muscle mass. And when you stop taking it, the weight comes back on. I really didn't need to lose a lot of weight. My doctor really didn't think I should take it, but I did take it. And then I started having some side effects. They increased my dosage, and I couldn't drive down the street without pulling over to let it go. And so, and when I say let it go, I'm talking about it from the top. So I stopped taking it. It wasn't because the doctor told me to. I just, in my mind, was like, I just need to do some diet and exercise. I could do this because I've done it before. So that's why I stopped taking it. But Trulicity works. I will say, while I was on my GLP-1, my cholesterol level was normal. My blood sugars were good. My, of course, my weight, all of my labs were good. They were. But as soon as you get off of it, baby, you go right back into where you were at. It says Trulicity also is indicated to reduce the risk of major cardiovascular events. Like I said, my cholesterol level was normal when I was on Wegovy. It just, for some reason, it just does that. I have a friend who has really, really high cholesterol. She started taking Wegovy and her numbers went to normal. Her doctor said it was the first time since she was a teenager that she had ever had a normal cholesterol level. So it does work. So don't ever be deterred from taking it if you would like to take a GLP-1. Trulicity, I talked about that. It reduced the risk of major cardiovascular events such as stroke, myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack, or unalive. In adults with type 2 diabetes who have established cardiovascular disease or multiple cardiovascular risk factors, Trulicity is a long-term treatment. It must be taken continuously to effectively control blood sugar on an ongoing basis and facilitate the body's natural release of insulin during and after meals. The supply period for which each prescription for Trulicity varies, often depending on the prescribing physician's judgment and terms of the patient's insurance and pharmacy benefits. Excuse me. Trulicity is commonly dispensed to patient on a 30-day supply or a 90-day supply. Mine, when I was taking it, I was actually getting a 30-day supply. I would get a box with 4 pens in it. So that each one is, you do it once a week, that's 4 weeks. So that's a 30-day supply. The 30-day supply consists of one box containing 4 single injectable pens. Each injectable pen contains 0.5 milliliters of liquid solution. So each Trulicity box of 4 pens consists of a total of 2 milliliters or units of solution. Trulicity offered in 0.7 milligrams, 1.5 milligrams, 3 milligrams, and 4.5 milligram doses, with dosage depending on each patient's individual need for adequate glycemic control. Let me see if they anything else they're gonna say about these people, because I don't really want to keep reading about this medication because we already know about that. Let's see. They talk about the rebate. Let's see if we want to talk about that. A healthcare sharing program is a nonprofit, community-based, and often faith-based alternative to a traditional insurance plan. As relevant here, to cover the cost of their members' prescription medication needs, healthcare sharing programs require members to pay monthly contributions, which are akin to premiums. These contributions are used to pay some of the costs of each member's prescription medication, with the remaining paid by each member through a copay or a co-share. So that's what the healthcare sharing program was all about. It's a nonprofit, community-based, blah, 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 blah. Many insurers contract with pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, to manage and administer pharmacy benefits of their healthcare plan or their health plans. Like, that's what CVS is. My insurance contracts with CVS or Walgreens or whoever to get those medications, right? In that role, the PBM often manages the drug formulary, which is a list of medications covered by the insurance health plan. The PBM also separately contracts with pharmacies to manage reimbursements for medicines dispensed by the pharmacy to patients of PBM's client health insurance plans. Let me see. I don't think we're on the same page. Let me get you guys over to the right page. This is the right page. It says typically rebates are conditioned on manufacturer's medicine being placed in a specific position on the applicable drug formulary, blah, 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 blah. The amount of rebates are negotiated between the PBMs and the manufacturer. After receiving rebates from a drug manufacturer or a medication manufacturer, PBMs may or may not share a portion of these rebates with their payer or health plan clients. Each PBM has separate contracts with this client that specifies whether and how these rebate payments from manufacturers will be shared between the PBM and the client. Manufacturers typically do not have visibility into or knowledge of the terms of PBM agreements with their clients. So they're saying that manufacturers, they rely on plans and these PBM representations, because those are the ones who manages how much medication gets sent to certain pharmacies, is what I'm reading. Okay. Let's see with this. Let's talk about it. The drug place conspiracy fraudulent scheme. Drug place and its affiliates and business partners have, over the course of years, knowingly caused the submission of hundreds of thousands of fraudulent rebate claims for Lilly medicines. Rather than dispense these medications to patients as defendants representing data underlying rebate submissions to Lilly, defendants sell those medications on a secondary market to other distributors or pharmacies. Defendants turn a significant profit on each unit of Trulicity they purchase by collecting both a portion of the rebate payments and the net resale proceeds for each unit. So they making money both ways. They collect money from the rebate payments, and then they get money when they sell it on the secondary market, which is really what it's caused. This is what caused them alarm. This is what they found when they did their investigation. It says that Lilly terminates its direct relationship. I think I'm on the wrong page. There we go. Here we go. Lilly terminates its direct relationship with Drug Place in 2015 over serious concerns about Drug Place's rebate submissions. From 2011 to 2015, Lilly had a direct contractual relationship with Drug Place, which at the time acted as the PBM for community health, the prescription cost share program for members of the church. Drug Place also purported to serve as the exclusive dispensing pharmacy for community health. Remember, community health was originally known as Ready something, but they went out of business because they had been found out and they changed their name to Community Health. Drug Place acted as PBM, submitted rebate claims, and received rebates for medicines manufactured by Lilly. These medicines for which Drug Place obtained rebates during the period included Humalog, Humulin, insulin medications used to treat diabetes, Cialis used to treat erectile dysfunction. By 2015, Drug Place's volume of rebate claims was substantial, but not yet astronomical. At that time, Drug Place was receiving rebates at a rate about $6 million per year. Girl, we ain't about to let you dark people get no money like that every year from us. Is y'all crazy? Big Pharma go down there and lobby to keep you out their pocket. What are you doing? The vast majority of those rebates were from Humalog and Humulin. I want you to remember one thing. We're going to go to this before we get to the end of this. Eli Lilly has been sued several times by several different states. They've been sued by Texas. They've been sued, I believe, by Indiana. I believe Tennessee sued them. All because they are the reason why insulin was unaffordable at one point. They definitely are. So Humalog and Humulin, those are really old insulins because they raised the price up on insulin so high. Other manufacturers started making Lantus, Aspart. There's so many different insulins out here now. You can get confused if you don't know them. I know this because I know pharmaceuticals. Humalog and Humulin are old insulin, and they at one point were the only insulins you could get besides Novolog, but I believe they were all made by Eli Lilly, right? So they dominated the insulin marketplace. The relationship between Lilly and Drug Place was governed by a rebate agreement under which Lilly paid rebates directly to Drug Place in its role as PBM for community health, conditioned on the placement of Lilly's medication on Community Health's Drug Place formulary. Lilly's agreement with Drug Place required that covered medications be dispensed to and utilized by patients and covered by a client health plan in order to be eligible for rebates. So they put stipulations in place, which most companies do. In August of 2015, a drug wholesaler informed Lilly that it was terminating its relationship with Drug Place's pharmacy business because Drug Place had violated the wholesaler's contractual own use, in quotation, requirements. This means that Drug Place's pharmacy business was not actually dispensing to patients the medications it purchased, but rather was redistributing to or reselling the medications to other distributors or pharmacies. Because Drug Place pharmacy and PBM business were tightly linked, and medications resold to distributors or pharmacies are not eligible for rebates. Lilly decided to initiate its own review and audit of rebate claims submitted by Drug Place and its capacity as PBM, as the agreement between Lilly and Drug Place expressly authorized Lilly to do. So actually the whistleblower was when a drug wholesaler, they notified Lilly, hey, these people over here, we've been giving them medicine, but instead of them distributing the medicine to patients, they've been reselling the medicine. So Lilly was like, what? You they doing what? Baby, we just to get out here and we're going to see if this is what's happening for ourselves. So this is what opened up Eli Lilly to actually do the audit and find out that these people were actually reselling this medication and making money off of it. At the commencement of the review, Lilly informed Drug Place through multiple phone calls with Drug Place's then Vice President defendant Kevin Singer that Lilly was conducting an inquiry into Drug Place's rebate submissions in connection with the plan audit, Lilly requested that drug place resubmit all contractually required data to validate the eligibility in rebate submissions. Drug place responded by resubmitting data in aggregate form rather than at a prescription level, even though the parties' agreement required drug place to provide individual prescription level data. The reason for this requirement is that without prescription level data, it is not possible to confirm whether individual rebate claims are contractually valid or even whether they are authentic. So they knew what they were doing when they asked for them to send them the data. So they said, but we're just gonna send you this whole, but we keep on level. We're not gonna see, individual prescriptions. We're gonna send you this because they definitely have to keep those prescriptions. I remember my mom, I would go to the pharmacy every year and get a copy of all of her medications, what she's taking for the year for her taxes. And they would actually, give us a couple of hours and they would print it out for me. Everything she's taken from January the 1st until the end of December, what she spent on medication and all of it. So they have to keep that information on hand. So they were not doing that. Even with limited and insufficient data that Lilly received from drug place over the course of the audit, it was still highly concerning. Specifically, drug places aggregated data purporting to show the quantities of medications dispensed, days of supplies prescribed, and the number of refills were completely inconsistent with known prescribing practices for the medicines on drug places formulary. So let's say that you get what I got in front of me. Protonics, 40 milligrams. And we all know Protonics is taken once a day. Just throwing that out there. Protonics taken once a day. So all of a sudden, you got somebody taking Protonics 4 times a day. That's not the way medications are. Not that particular medication. That there are medications that are prescribed, antibiotics 4 times a day, some other stomach medications and other things. But we know the Protonics is a once a day medication. So why would you prescribe it 4 times a day? That's just an example that I am giving. Let's see where we're at. For example, drug place rebate data indicated that every single patient had been prescribed a 30-day rather than a 90-day supply of Humalog or Humulin without exception. So they was barely giving people enough insulin to get through them. This is back when they first had the issue in 2015. Remember that. This is unusual as insulin is often prescribed in 90-day supplies to improve clinical appropriate adherence in chronic patients who require stable and consistent treatment. 30-day supplies are often prescribed during the initiation of a patient's treatment protocol, but most patients switch to 90-day supplies thereafter. The irregularity suggested that drug places data were fraudulent and did not correspond to real prescriptions. So they already got their number here, honey. In addition, every single rebate claim was for a patient's initial fill of the medication or for their first refill. Not a single claim corresponded to even a second refill. Again, for insulin in particular, this made no sense. Diabetes is a chronic condition, and patients with diabetes typically do not suddenly stop taking it or fill their insulin prescriptions after a single refill. That's true. If you're on insulin, you normally have to keep taking it. It was highly implausible for an entire patient base to consist of patients with diabetes filling their prescriptions for the first or second time, which is irreconcilable. Is that what this is? Yeah, which is irreconcilable. Which known prescriptions trend for comparable non-Kojic populations. This irregularity, too, suggested that drug places data was fraudulent and did not correspond to real prescriptions. Lilly shared these concerns, among others, with drug place. Lilly notified drug place that due to the magnitude of aberrant rebate claims, it was disputing all of drug places' second quarter of 2015 rebate submissions and would be suspending any future rebate payments until the dispute was resolved by a formal audit of drug place. So they did a whole audit of these people to see what was going on. This ain't nothing new. They've been doing this since 2015. So this is almost 11 years, 10 years for sure, that they've been defrauding Eli Lilly. In October 2015, Lilly auditors requested an on-site audit of Drug Place's corporate headquarters in Hollywood, Florida, for two full days, to be followed by an audit of Drug Place's distribution center in Nashville, Tennessee. Eventually, after weeks of negotiation, Singer agreed that Lilly audit team would be permitted to visit both sites and review a sample of rebate submissions, data showing receipts, dispense, and utilization for each corresponding medicine, and other information related to Drug Place's pharmacy operation and the community health program design. In November of 2015, the Lilly auditors traveled to 1930 Harris Street Avenue in Hollywood, Florida, to audit Drug Place's corporate headquarters. The headquarters were located in a small office building. Let me move this page so y'all can get it. Which contained offices for several other businesses associated with Drug Place officers. The suite for Drug Place's headquarters was labeled with a nondescript corporate office sign. It consisted entirely of one small conference room with a back office attached. It looked nothing like the hub of a multi-million-dollar operation responsible for administering health benefits and dispensing medication for hundreds of thousands of patients. Upon arrival, a Lilly audit team was met by defendant Singer and David Hoffner. Now, David Hoffner is a new name. He's not listed in this lawsuit. I did see his name, which is Drug Place's office manager. Let me look. Did I see his name? Let me go back, y'all. Give me a minute. David Hoffer's name isn't in there. Now, David may have turned over state's evidence. He may have given them the information they needed, and they had decided not to bring him up in the lawsuit. The Drug Place representative, let's go back. Upon arrival, the Lilly audit team was met with defendant Singer and David Hoffner, Drug Place's office manager. Defendant Rita Smith, the head of community health and director of health for the church, also joined them. The Drug Place representative purported to explain Drug Place's business model. They claimed there were 1.2 million members of the church eligible for the community health program benefit. However, neither Singer, Hoffner, nor Smith was able to define the eligibility requirements. Smith said eligibility usually depended on the member being in good standing with the church, but could not offer any further detail. When Lilly sought to inspect Drug Place's records, the very reason for the audit, Smith repeatedly deflected Lilly's request, continually providing generalities about the church's mission rather than specifics about community health and Drug Place's operation. Smith said that the prescribers for most prescriptions are individual physicians who have agreed to work with community health, and their identities are highly confidential. I call bullswangy. That's not how they work. Doctors, when they prescribe, they give you a prescription, and it also includes their drug identity number. Anyway, he claimed that only 3 people had ever seen the list of these prescribing physicians. This was highly suspicious, as prescribers' information is standard information in the healthcare industry that is required to be collected and maintained by pharmacies and is routinely included in health insurance claims. And that is the truth. When Lilly's auditors returned the next day to continue the audit, the Drug Place representative provided small batches of prescription level records for review. These records were in the form of printed out screenshots of Drug Place's electric pharmacy management software, purporting to show the filling and dispensing of medications. Lilly was never provided live access to that software, even though Singer had previously agreed to allow a real-time review to evaluate samples. All of the screenshots were redacted to remove prescribers' information, including names and NPI at Smith's instruction. He claimed that the church's constitution required this, which was highly unusual since prescribers' information is generally non-sensitive and disclosure is not prohibited by state or federal law. Nonetheless, Smith refused to allow Lilly's auditors to review unredacted versions. Without prescribers' information, it was impossible for Lilly to verify the authenticity of the claimed utilization of dispensed medications on which drug place rebate claims were based. Despite the inadequacy of the information provided to them, the Lilly audit team identified inconsistencies in the redacted prescription data, including inconsistencies between the prescribed volume of medicines and the filled volume. Smith could not explain these inconsistencies. Instead, he deflected and proceeded to show the audit team another small batch of screenshots. Some of the subsequent screenshots appeared to correct the inconsistencies between prescribed and filled volumes that the auditors had identified in the previous batch. It appeared as though these supposedly explanatory records had been generated and falsified in real time. Further complicating Lilly's attempt to validate drug place's rebate submission, drug place had an unusual practice of assigning unique prescription IDs to every transaction and sometimes to every unit of measure within a transaction, rather than a single consistent prescription ID that lasts throughout the life of a patient's prescription, including all refills, which is standard. You know, if you go to CVS and you get a medication, you have a prescription number. That number will follow that medication until you've gotten the last refill. Just a standard thing that they do. This was made impossible for drug place to demonstrate based on the rebate data provided, whether filled was a first fill or refill, which fills corresponded to give prescription. Given drug place inability to provide prescription level records that supported its rebate claims, Lilly requested other evidence that the medications associated with drug place's rebate claims had actually been shipped to patients. For example, records of shipping manifests or billing information from the shipping courier. Drug place refused to provide this information. Later that week, Lilly auditors continued the audit at drug place distribution in Nashville. So this was Florida. Now they don't went to Nashville. And I'm sure it's going to get worse. During the phase of the audit, drug place again prohibited Lilly's team from accessing drug place's pharmacy software system or any screenshots of utilization data for the requested samples. Again, the auditors found this very unusual since the information should be readily accessible and there was no valid reason for drug place's refusal to make it available. Instead, the auditors were permitted to speak with two drug place pharmacists, Stephen Webb and Jared Shirley. Shirley and Webb, the individual closest to the prescriptions underlying the rebate claims, had no explanation for the extremely unusual prescription dispensing and utilization data underlining drug place's rebate claims. One of the pharmacists verbally confirmed that the uniformity in medication quantities that drug place listed in its rebate submissions to Lilly was inconsistent with his own experience filling prescriptions. As detailed below, Lilly has since learned that Shirley has been associated with other fraudulent schemes involving the individual defendants in this action. Child, they got everybody they could think tied up in this mess. Ultimately, Lilly's audit of drug place was unable to confirm that any of drug place's rebate claims were valid. In fact, given the abnormalities in the aggregated data that drug place did provide, and drug place steadfast refusal to provide underlying data that it was required to retain as a licensed pharmacy, Lilly came away from the process with grave doubts about the legitimacy of drug place community health and their respective operations. As a result, Lilly did not seek to renew parties' rebate agreements, and it expired the following month. So that was in 2015. Now, in 2025, details below, Lilly discovered that since at least 2020, drug place had been the source of an enormous volumes of rebate claims concealed through multiple layers of middlemen to circumvent Lilly's decision not to do business with drug place. This time, the rebate claims were based on purported utilization of a single different diabetes medicine, Trulicity. So in 2020, they started dispensing Trulicity out to people. The volume of these rebate claims is stunning. And since 2020, drug place has submitted through intermediaries rebate claims for hundreds of thousands of boxes of Trulicity, seeking more than $250 million in fraudulent rebates, an average rate of over $40 million per year. At their peak, drug place affiliated rebate claims corresponded to nearly $75 million worth of Trulicity per year. These rebates supposedly corresponded to hundreds of thousands of boxes of Trulicity that drug place purchased from licensed wholesalers during the same period. Lilly's investigation into drug place conspiracies, however, has confirmed that drug place does not function as a legitimate pharmacy that dispenses Trulicity to patients, at least not in anywhere near the volumes it claimed. Instead, drug place in conjunction with affiliates, including Nacorn and Brightline, operates as a de facto unauthorized secondary wholesaler of Trulicity. Drug place purchases Trulicity from wholesalers and resells it on the secondary market. Meanwhile, drug place submits through intermediaries fraudulent rebate claims to Lilly for hundreds of millions of dollars, as if drug place had operated as a pharmacy and actually dispensed the medications to patients. Lilly discovers that drug place has been submitting large volumes of rebate claims through the middleman. So it just goes through and talks about the data available to them was limited. It said that in 2025, Lilly discovered that since 2020, drug place had been submitting massive volumes of rebate claims for a single medication, Trulicity, through a series of intermediaries to Lilly, which served to conceal their source. Trying to see what else. It says the vast majority of those claims followed this pattern. Drug place submitted the rebate claims to a single rebate aggregator called Health Delegates. Health Delegates then submitted the claims to one of two major PBMs, one from 2020 to 2023, hereafter named PBM1, and another from 2023 to 2025, hereafter named PBM2. The PBMs then submitted the rebate claims to Lilly for payment. Child. It said drug place responses to the audit are not credible. I'm trying to just scan through this document because it's like I said, it's 66 pages. It's not a fast document. I tried to read through most of it last night, but it is a lot. It's a lot. But I will tell you this: they talk about the surveillance, the investigation, and I probably will come back and we'll talk about this again later on. It talks about during the surveillance of drug place communities, they observed activity at drug places premises was inconsistent with either a retail or a mail order pharmacy. Multiple days of observation at the Tennessee location revealed just a handful of people coming and going from the office. There were neither customers coming to retrieve medication, nor any indication of product being mailed to individual customers. such as FedEx or UPS tracks. So no one was trucks. Nobody was coming to even get these medications. Rather, drug place appeared to be distributing medications to other pharmacies. I'm sorry, distributing medications or other products to other pharmacies and medical practices throughout the Nashville area. And they have pictures. Pictures. Let me show you some of these pictures. This is on 45, so I need to. So right here, still shots from the investigative surveillance video below. They're showing what look like medical products of some sort. It says over the course of the next 4 hours, it goes through a whole thing. In May of 25, Nashville logistics trucks backed into two drug places delivery bay. After around 12 minutes at the delivery bay, the truck departed drug place and drove to a courier service in Nashville called Courier Express. There, the truck driver unloaded what appeared to be a number of empty bins of various colors. The driver then loaded a pallet of red plastic bins into the truck and departed. Over the course of the next 4 hours, Lilly's investigators observed the truck traveling to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a suburb of Nashville, to make deliveries to 9 separate locations, each of which was neither a health clinic, hospital, or pharmacy. At each stop, the truck driver delivered colored totes and cardboard boxes of pharmaceutical products to the clinic, hospital, or pharmacy. Some of those totes were labeled with the name of one of the authorized distributors that sell Trulicity and other Lilly products. Others were labeled with the names of specific medications. The truck then returned to drug place. So this is what this picture is of them going out and moving drugs around or moving medications around with the truck. This is it again, them with the empty totes and putting other totes. But they just taking pictures. One was at 9 o'clock in the morning. This other one was at 10. This is the first one is a still shot of the video below. The second one is drug places sales on the secondary market. So I guess this is what they were doing. Let's see what else is over here. They're asking for relief. They're asking for, let me see how much money they're asking for. I don't see a money. I'm just skimming through, but I don't see a money amount, but I'm sure they are asking for a lot of money back. I'm going to go through these things and we're going to talk about it. I will say one thing I did notice yesterday. They actually filed for an emergency injunction so that they could stop them from being, the feds are definitely symmetry. They filed an emergency injunction to stop them from being able to get any more rebate claims. And the judge actually signed it. And so they have an emergency injunction in place that nothing else can be moved from Lilly over. But I will tell you this, child, this don't look good. This don't look good, and I don't think it's going to end well. Again, this is a lot of information. We got the players out of the way. I'm going to break this down some more, and we're going to talk about some of the things they found when they went on their investigation, because all of that is here. That's why it is so much. The complaint is so much because they literally followed these people for months. It took several pictures. Oh my. Surveillance. Oh yes. Addresses. All the addresses. They went to all the addresses. They did their due diligence. And I don't think it's going to end well for some of these individuals. Some of them may not get as much time as the others, but I do believe somebody's going to get in trouble. I also wonder if any other church denominations will end up getting caught. I do too, because at the beginning we talked about a gentleman who was over the National Hispanic, where was that at? He was over like the National Hispanic something. And he also was a part of it too. So, here it is. Galaxy reports to be a mail order pharmacy for a prescription cost share program operated by the Texas chapter of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference. So I just wonder how many other people were being duped in this process. Child, it's a mess. This is a mess. But I want to thank you guys for coming down here, sitting with me for an hour and a half. This is a lot of stuff to go through while I read it all to you guys. And I know it may have been a little bit boring, but this right here, we're going to stay on top of it. I'm going to keep watching it. I'm going to follow it to the end. All this is alleged. I don't know if any of this is true. All I know is what is listed in this court document. Remember, this is a civil case. This is not a criminal case that I'm reading. There may be a criminal case coming, but I don't know nothing about that. What I do know is what I saw in the civil case in Southern Florida. Anywho, I want to thank you for coming down here and sitting with me and listening to me run my mouth. If no one's told you today they love you, I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. I hope you guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.